Welcome to the Great Fast Delusion, a briefing from Fastmaster Intelligence. Fast is an industry where the operators running the platforms have mostly accepted, internally, that while hours keep growing, new customers are slowing down, and monetization is going the wrong way. And yet the same operators keep adding channels against their own evidence, against the clear signals from the buy side that volume is not what the advertisers want. This is the single most interesting thing happening in Fast right now. The gap between what the operators know and what the operators do. There are over 1,600 distinct Fast channels available across the 9 major US platforms. 4 years ago, the count was over 800. The industry has spent the interval answering one question with great enthusiasm. How many channels can we add? And that question is the entire reason we are here today, because it was the wrong question, asked by the wrong people, for reasons that this briefing will unveil. Local news is a great case study. In 2020, there were 2 distinct local news stations available across major Fast platforms. In 2026, that number is 235, making it the Fast genre that has added the most channels. If you are a platform that geo-fences, and some do to varying degrees, a viewer in Brooklyn sees the New York local stations and nothing else. If you are a platform that doesn't, that same viewer scrolls past hundreds of local affiliates for markets they have never lived in. Pew Research found in 2025 that only 21% of Americans follow local news very closely, down from 37% in 2016, and 57% of adults under 50 say they are worn out by the sheer volume of news already in their lives. So the industry response has been to serve that exhausted, disengaged audience more local news than has ever existed. The fix is a configuration flag. Some platforms have flipped it, others have not. And the reason they have not is that the unflipped version makes their channel count look bigger. You can keep adding channels. Each new one adds a row to your EPG, a line to your internal update, and a slide to your upfront deck. But each one also splits the audience, dilutes the ad load, and adds real ongoing costs: server-side ad insertion, content delivery, programming guide management, all of which get paid whether the channel earns or not. At some point, the tower stops being a tower and becomes a pile. The Fastmaster estimate puts the sustainable ceiling at around 400 channels per platform, if not less. The largest platforms are at more than double that. There are over 115 sports channels available on major Fast. Tier 1 sports like the Premier League, the NFL, and Major League Baseball do not show live games on Fast. Instead, the major leagues use Fast the way they use YouTube, as a marketing funnel for highlights, archival footage, and press conferences, with the actual games still sitting behind the traditional rights deals that pay for the leagues to exist. What drives the actual channel volume on Fast is the shoulder economy: combat sports, outdoor and lifestyle content, single athlete channels, and a great deal of niche programming that was never going to clear the bar for linear cable, which is a perfectly reasonable use of the format. It's just not what a media buyer thinks they are buying when they see live sports inventory in a deck. In February, Pluto rebranded. Part of the motivation was straightforward housekeeping. The portfolio had Pluto TV Comedy and Pluto TV Romance, and similar genre-branded channels sitting alongside other owned channels that had no Pluto branding at all. Standardizing that made sense. In an EPG where every major content owner is now signaling ownership, an unbranded channel looks cheap and gets skipped. So far, so strategic, Then the rebrand went further into channels that already had strong brand architectures of their own. Channels from CBS and BET picked up a trailing Pluto. Second-party offerings got the on Pluto suffix. Cops on Pluto, Taste-Made Smokehouse on Pluto. Channels like MTV Teen Mom Pluto ended up with 3 brands competing for the viewer's eye in a single channel name. These rebrands may be helpful internally to distinguish who owns which O&O channel, but they are not decisions made with the viewer in mind. The way fast channels actually get added to platforms, when you look at it honestly, has more in common with a casino than with a content strategy. A content owner pitches a channel. A platform says yes. It goes live across as many of the major platforms as will carry it, and then everybody waits to see what happens. Very few of the channels launched in this way could credibly have been predicted to be hits by the people launching them, because the bar for proposing a channel is low enough that serious forecasting is not really part of the process. The ones that are big hits tend to be obvious. Established IP, existing audience, a clear reason the channel exists, and they are the exception, not the norm. Most of what fills an EPG is inventory that nobody really thought would break out, but which was cheap enough to try, and which now sits on the platform costing money to deliver whether anybody watches or not. Of the single IP and franchise channels on Fast, the ones that run one show or are dedicated to a franchise as opposed to mixed programming, 37% come from the 1990s or earlier, 52 of them are from the 1970s or before, 44 from the 1980s, 57 from the 1990s. By contrast, only 17 single IP channels have premiered IP from the 2020s, the decade we are actually in. Almost the entire single IP side of Fast is running on catalog that predates Netflix, which is fine as a cost structure. Library content is cheap, but it means the ecosystem's growth is being fueled not by adding recent content with cultural relevance, but by finding more places to park things people have already seen. Case in point, in 2022, Baywatch was the most watched channel on Samsung TV Plus in Australia. There are 2 ways to read this. One is that Baywatch is genuinely beloved in Australia, which, fine, possibly. The other is that the pool of contemporary content on Samsung TV Plus Australia was thin enough that a 30-year-old American lifeguard drama could rise to the top on the strength of being one of the more recognizable things on the shelf. Both of these could be true, but only one of them is a business you can scale, and only one of them supports the upfront narrative that Fast is the future of TV. There are over 70 channels on Fast currently classified as kids programming. Things like Teletubbies, Mr. Rogers, Inspector Gadget, which is a category that is structurally incapable of working. Modern kids do not watch linear television. Their video consumption lives inside algorithmic feeds, where the next thing is always one tap away and personalized to them. Even the kids who do try Fast are walking into an environment built for adult tolerance of interruption, with ad pods that sometimes fail and will be right back slates that run for minutes. And the content itself, mostly 90s and early 2000s cartoons, has no nostalgic pull for the audience it is supposedly aimed at. It has nostalgic pull for their parents. So what Kids Fast actually is, honestly described, is a service where millennials and Gen Xers watch the cartoons they grew up with, booked against the wrong demographic in the upfront deck. Here is a dynamic the channel count does not show you. A studio licenses one of its shows directly as a single IP channel, dedicated to that one property, running on a platform. Separately, the same studio's licensing team sells the same content into curated channels, mixed programming channels built by platforms or by third-party publishers that package the show alongside other licensed and library titles. So a viewer scrolling the EPG sees a single IP channel for the show, and a few rows down sees a curated crime channel or a curated comedy channel that airs episodes of the same show in a different wrapper. The content is the same. The ad inventory against it is separate. The channel count goes up twice. This is a fine arrangement for the content owners who collect on both streams. It is less fine for the advertiser who thinks they are buying reach and is in fact buying the same narrow audience several times. Collective wisdom inside the business is that overall ad fill rates on FAST cite somewhere around 50%, which means roughly half of the ad inventory on FAST is not being sold, and the viewer has to watch something during that gap, usually a platform's own promos or a We'll Be Right Back network slate, sometimes held on screen for a minute or more. None of this is a catastrophe on its own, but it is the experience FAST is asking its audience to accept. And the other half, the inventory that is selling, is often selling to audiences that are very, very small. A FAST channel doing 100,000 monthly hours nationwide sounds like real scale. That works out as an average of 138 viewers a minute. At primetime peak, maybe 777. You can reach more people with an ad on a wall in a Queen's coffee shop. And the reason any of this persists, the reason the unsold half stays unsold and the sold half sells this cheaply, is that advertisers won't commit premium dollars to a market they can't cleanly measure. Before we go further, something needs flagging. Inside the industry, FAST execs have accepted that the era of high growth is over. Monetization down. Customer growth flat. Consolidation and discipline. Outside the industry, completely different story. There is a parallel industry of forecasters, keynote speakers, and LinkedIn thought leaders whose public position tends to match whoever booked the stage. Most of them have never operated a channel. None of them live with the consequences of the advice, and they're the ones shaping the public story for everyone who doesn't work directly in FAST. So why is the outside conversation still so bullish when the inside one isn't? Clout, conference invites, LinkedIn shares, a business model that rewards optimism regardless of outcome. Start with the word itself. Inside the industry, FAST means linear channels delivered on an EPG. Nielsen uses it that way, Roku uses it that way, Tubi uses it that way. Every licensing deal Fastmaster has seen negotiates FAST rights and on-demand rights separately. At major Hollywood studios, legal teams comb co-production deals to confirm FAST rights specifically, separate from AVOD, separate from SVOD. That is how the industry actually operates. Outside the industry, commentators use FAST to mean all free streaming. Linear and on-demand, lumped together. Same word. Two completely different products, different audiences, different ad economics, different growth curves, and when the word is loose enough, the number attached to it can be almost anything. Here is what that looseness produces in practice. 3 published forecasts for the size of the 2025 US FAST ad market. The first, from a prominent industry analyst firm, put the number at $33.8 billion. That figure used a broad definition, counting all free streaming as FAST and hoping for a series of very fortunate events to all occur. The second, from a public analyst firm, estimated around $6 billion, based on an optimistic hope of CPM growth contrary to warning signs. Fast Master Intelligence's estimate came in at roughly 3.5 billion. Same market, same year, three numbers, and the spread between the smallest and the largest is 11 times. Boardrooms have been setting strategy against the 33 billion figure for 2 years. It is one of the reasons we are in the mess we are in. Inside most fast platforms, the KPIs that get reviewed are total hours watched and total channels carried. Channels only go up. Every ad counts to the goal. Hours typically rise because platforms add channels with easily available library content, which pulls in viewers over 60 who are happy to sit and watch for long periods. But this is an audience advertisers won't pay premium to reach. See Diginets. But internally, targets met, hours up, channels up. I hit my number, regardless of whether it meant anything, because these are the numbers people get promoted on. The KPIs that would actually matter, revenue per hour, monetization of audiences advertisers want, aren't on the dashboard. So nobody's bonus is threatened by zombie channels or a graying audience. This is what happens when executives build their own scorecard. They pick the metrics that can't fail and quietly ignore the ones that would lead to questions being asked. Revenue per hour, younger demos, monetization quality, all knowable, none classified as KPIs, because tracking them would mean losing on them. Admitting change is needed, having to fix the strategy. It's a rational response to a promotion system that rewards dashboards going up, and it's why Fast won't fix itself. The incentive not to is the strongest force in the industry, even amidst channel partner discontent. And none of this gets better without measurement. There is no standard definition of what fast is, which means there is no standard thing to measure. Hundreds of the smaller channels on the EPG are essentially unmeasurable at any scale that would interest a buyer. They were added for vanity, not for reach. Fast has real potential as an ad-supported business, but potential is the word for something that isn't happening yet. And the only force in the industry that can actually push this toward measurement is the buy side. The day a major ad holding company draws a line and says, "We will not buy Fast inventory without a third-party measurement standard," is the day this gets better. Until that day, we stay here. The $34 billion forecast we saw didn't just sit on a slide deck. It drove real decisions. Channels launched, licensing deals signed, headcount hired, all against a number that didn't arrive. 3 years in, the revenue hasn't come. At least not at the scale the forecast promised, and the people being churned out aren't the ones who made the forecast. They're the content owners who believed it. They licensed libraries, built teams, and stood up channels, all on a number that didn't arrive. The conversations inside studios right now start with, what do we replace this with? Note, it still isn't, do we have too many channels? The forecaster moved on to the next topic to get them conference keynotes, like micro-dramas. The platforms kept their channel counts. The content owners absorbed the loss. Here is what a functioning fast market would actually look like. Fewer channels per platform, between 300 and 400. Ad loads capped at 6 minutes per hour, and collapsing dynamically if the ad demand is not there. The eradication of the Be Right Back slate. Industry analysts reflecting the terminology of the industry they cover, and the end of misinformation designed primarily to boost the analyst's profile and ensure more bookings. The industry has spent 3 years chasing maximum channels and any hours. The next 3 years need to be spent chasing the hours that advertisers actually want to buy and the audiences who watch them. It will require strategic rethinks. It will require new ideas. It will require hard work. This has been the Great Fast Delusion. Find more at fastmaster.media.